7. It's time for the Geek Show today with Ms. Behaviour joining us from Mohawk Studios in Wellington City. Ms. B, come on in.
Good morning, Wammo.
Good morning. Today we're talking about new music models, ways to get music heard online.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a subject close to my own heart because when we first came over here to New Zealand 10 years ago, we actually set up a digital download label for New Zealand music. So this is 2002, 2003, really early days. Yeah, absolutely. And we had a lot of fun, learned a lot about the whole scene, ended up actually placing our artists' music onto other download sites overseas because after a couple of years, obviously, there were loads more. But it was a really good learning experience, and we were really inspired by Napster and how successful that was. So, 10 years on now, almost 10 years on since iTunes went live. Obviously, amplifier.co.nz was around a lot earlier than that. They were the first in. But it's a very interesting space. And right now, we've got a really interesting case playing out in New Zealand with the Kim.com arrest.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really interesting case because, not only because it's happening here, but it's a global thing as well. And it really raises the whole question about piracy and its actual effect on the entertainment industry.
That's right, because the whole story plays out just like a script from a Hollywood movie. It starts off as an action film with SWAT teams and helicopters and inflatable tanks, but it's turning into a little bit of a comedy or a farce, actually, because the news came out last week on Friday that the paperwork that was put in to impound all of Kim.com's assets was actually filed incorrectly, or they put the wrong form in, a procedural error. So there was a judge Judge Judith Potter said on Friday that the seizure order, which was ordered by the Americans, is now null and void, has no legal effect, and there's going to be another hearing to see whether or not they can keep his cars and cash and all the stuff they took off him. So quite fascinating, but the real elephant in the room, the real thing that isn't really being talked about is that just before his arrest, he was about to launch the Megabox digital jukebox service, which was tipped to completely revolutionise the music industry. And there was an excellent article from TechCrunch just recently with the title, "Was Mega Upload Targeted Because of Its Upcoming Megabox Digital Jukebox Service?" Because when you have a look through, I've been reading about this. I heard that there was this new service coming soon, and I was, I kept hearing big name stars were starting to sign to it, and the thing is, he was planning on giving 90% of revenue streams to the artists, and even to give money to people who put their music up for free if it was being downloaded. And here's the kicker: when you read through the article on TechCrunch, I've put a quote up on the show notes at thegeekshow.com. And the most interesting sentence that I've seen in there is that Megabox was planning on bypassing the labels, the RIAA, and the entire music establishment. And he was also due to be launching something called Mega Movie later this year. So it's interesting timing.
Is there any indicator of of how the service was going to look, or why it's different from, say, Spotify or iTunes or any other kind of service out there that's available?
Not really, but I do know that what he does have is the weight behind him, the sheer numbers that he's been getting on the mega download site, and also the deals that he was doing with some serious names. Because this is one of the other things. A lot of big name artists now are coming off contract. A lot of them are coming off traditional music contracts. You've got people like Annie Lennox. You've got Madonna recently renegotiated a completely different deal, which was based around touring. And what you're finding is that there were a lot of people lining up. You had the Black Eyed Peas. You had plenty of people supporting him. So, I just think it's very, very interesting timing. And this is one of the big issues, I think, with this current copyright conundrum, is that the legacy entertainment business is actually stifling innovation, whether or not you think this is piracy. And there's a wonderful quote from an article by Vikram at Internet New Zealand. Really fantastic article I've linked to in the show notes, which basically just says, then we're not pirates, we're disillusioned disillusioned potential customers.
Yeah, really good point. And you're about to talk about some of these music services where you can go and hear new music. So I'm not so much feeling a disillusioned potential customer when it comes to music, but I certainly am with movies in New Zealand because we don't have the services available.
That's right. Absolutely. And the thing with the music business is, it's had a decade now with iTunes and all these various download sites and new models to actually get some traction. And there's a fantastic infographic which has been doing the rounds recently called The Sky's Rising. It's based on a report, a really detailed report, but as always, the infographic always shows things best. And, as it says, contrary to the dire warnings of the legacy entertainment industry players, the market's booming, with ever greater content choices for consumers, more options for creators, and many more opportunities for smart businesses and artists to make money. If you look down, you can see that everything is up. All of the sales are up. Video games, music sales, books, film and video. It's all going up and up and up. But I think the thing is, it's fragmenting and it's moving around all of these different indie sites. So people are still buying music. They're still playing music. They're still seeking out music, but they're not necessarily going to the traditional big five, or is it big three labels anymore. They're going elsewhere. They're going direct to the artist. And I find that very, very exciting.
So talking about going direct to the artist, what are those music services that we can use?
Yeah, well, there's a few good sites to have a look at. So one of them that I've been a big fan of for years, really because we used CD Baby. So this is cdbaby.com. We actually used CD Baby to put out an album of New Zealand dance music in 2002. And in those days, they just did CD warehousing. And about a year later, they came to us and said, we want to place your music digitally in all the digital download stores, which they did. And it was incredible. We still get royalty checks every so often. And it's a fantastic service because they basically place your music into all the different stores, all the different places. They take a tiny little cut. I think it's something like 2%. You get to keep over 90% of your revenues. And the other good thing is that when they send you through your reports, you get to see exactly where you've made the money from. Cool. And I found that quite interesting as well, to see exactly which sites have brought the most revenue through. And iTunes don't do this, you see. iTunes just pay you lump sum. They don't tell you exactly the breakdown. So CD Baby is a fantastic service if you're an artist or a musician and you want to release independently, because they take all the hassle out of placing it in all these fantastic stores. So SoundCloud is another great site. More and more people are using it now. On the show notes, I've linked to an interview with the guy who wrote the Sky's Rising music reports. If you want to have a listen to him talking about the report itself, go along to thegeekshow.com. But SoundCloud's fantastic. A friend of ours has just been using it, who's releasing music. He's getting to the tops of charts on the next site that I'm going to show you, which is Beatport. But SoundCloud's great if you're doing interviews, or you're making music, or you just want to host audio files that you've created, you want to get feedback on. Brilliant service. You can embed the audio clips into your own site. So well worth a look at. And then Beatport it's not necessarily a new music model. It's a new spin on a traditional record store, but it's one that's working really well. Beatport's been going for quite a while. It's usually used by DJs because predominantly the music is dance music, but it's really fantastic. And what we've noticed, because obviously Calvin's DJ, when from time to time, and he's been using Beatport more and more to buy tunes, and it's great because there was this transition phase where people were accessing tunes, but they weren't there wasn't a clear way to buy them. So it's great because you get access to DJ charts, there's a community, there's top tens, there's really good music that rises to the top. And you get that really good feeling that when you go out and you play a set, you know that all the tunes that you've got in your digital record box have been paid for, and the money's going to the artist.
Very, very cool.
So, yeah, absolutely. So those are just a couple. There's also Music Hype, which was made in New Zealand. It was made in Wellington. Now, this is a great service for fans of music, people who want to basically promote their favourite artists. And I've got a graphic coming up on screen at the moment about how it works. But this is a way of rewarding fans for telling people about their favourite artists. So it's like a music recommendation engine. And what they do is they mash up Facebook, Twitter, Last.fm, YouTube, Flickr and SoundCloud to create a music profile, which is great. And I think you can connect to similar people in the community. And then you create a fan profile, and all the times that you tweet, or you Facebook, or you earn reward points, which you can then cash in for prizes and rewards. And I really like that, because that's leveraging your fan base to promote your art for you, which is really how it should be. And this is the great thing about these new music models. They're bringing artists and fans together without the middlemen, and that's the big problem. The middlemen are not very happy about this. So there's also a final honourable mention, because it's very easy to think that a lot of these new systems are international, but there's some really interesting stuff happening locally. I mean, I mentioned Amplifier. Music Hype is a New Zealand invention, though they're now based in New York as well. But I noticed this story, which I thought was great, from the recent Startup Weekend in Christchurch. I remember covering Wellington Startup Weekend recently on the show.
Yeah.
Well, one of the teams that came third place was the youngest ever Startup Weekend team. So you had two 14-year-olds and two 17-year-olds who entered an idea called the Media Mansion. Basically, if you want to keep an eye out for them, if you check out their Twitter feed at the Media Mansion. But basically, they're setting up a new site to distribute local indie music, merchandise, event promotions and tickets. It's going to be locally based and 100% free for users and artists. So this is great, because a decade on, there's these bright young things coming through, setting up these sites, and I just think that's wonderful. And if you want to know more about this whole copyright, downloading, Kim.com system, there's actually a mega breakfast that's being run in Wellington on the 27th of March by the New Zealand Computer Society. So if you want to go and find out more about that, then rock on over to the mega breakfast. And you can hear some experts like Vikram from the Internet New Zealand, Rick Shearer, talking about the opportunities, the issues, and really what's going on.
Great. There's so much excellent information in there. And if you want to see this as a video once more, check out all the show notes as well. Go along to thegeekshow.com. That's where Ms. Behaviour hangs out. Also twitter.com/Ms. Behaviour. Thanks very much, Ms. B.
Cheers, Wammo.